On the distant planet of Zythera, the sky shimmered with soft violet clouds, and the twin suns bathed the land in golden light. Towering crystal spires rose from the ground, reflecting the sunlight in rainbow patterns, giving the city a magical glow. In the heart of this city lived Princess Illyra, the beloved ruler of Zythera, known across the galaxy for her kindness, wisdom, and gentle beauty. Every alien being, from the smallest glimmering sprite to the largest sky whale, knew her name. But recently, something was wrong. The princess's radiant glow, which had always seemed as steady as the stars, was slowly dimming. Her steps had become slower, and her laughter, once bright and musical, now sounded tired. The healers of Zythera, creatures of incredible knowledge and skill, had tried everything. They combined all their medicines, energy crystals, and ancient rituals, yet nothing seemed to stop her fading. Some whispered that her life force was linked to a cosmic balance, delicate and fragile. If she failed, the planet itself could fall into chaos. In the palace's tallest tower, Illyra stood by a window, gazing at the two suns setting over the horizon. Her eyes, usually full of life, now carried a shadow of worry. She did not speak to her advisors that evening, only watching as the last light of day touched the city. Outside, the citizens went about their lives, unaware of the danger lurking in the very life of their princess. Meanwhile, far beyond Zythera, a human warrior named Kale traveled through the star lanes aboard his sleek spacecraft. Kale was not just any human. He was known across several star systems for his courage, skill in battle, and unyielding sense of justice. He had fought in wars on distant planets, faced alien predators, and survived cosmic storms that could tear most ships apart. Yet, Kale had never encountered a problem quite like the one that awaited him on Zythera. He had received word of Princess Illyra's condition through a message sent by an old ally on a neighboring planet. It spoke of a bright and brilliant life fading into darkness. And Kale felt something stir inside him, a pull he could not ignore. Perhaps it was the human instinct to protect life, or perhaps it was a deeper sense of destiny. Whatever it was, Kale decided he had to help. He set his course for Zythera, unaware of the challenges he would face, or the sacrifices that might be required. When Kale's ship entered Zythera's orbit, he was struck by the planet's beauty. The twin suns reflected off the crystal towers, and rivers of liquid light flowed through the cities like veins of energy. It was unlike any place he had ever seen. But Kale did not have time to admire the scenery. He knew that every moment mattered. He contacted the palace and was quickly granted permission to meet the princess. The palace was enormous, built from shimmering crystal that hummed softly with energy. Kale walked through its halls, observing the murals depicting Zythera's history and the stars beyond. Yet despite the grandeur, there was a quiet tension in the air. The guards moved swiftly, the advisors whispered among themselves, and everywhere Kale looked, he sensed the concern for the princess. Finally, he entered Illyra's chambers. She sat near a large window, bathed in the soft glow of the suns. Her hands rested gently on a crystal table, her posture graceful but tired. Kale bowed respectfully. "Princess Illyra," he said, his voice steady. "I am Kale, a human warrior. I have come to help you." Illyra looked at him with tired eyes. A small, faint smile appeared on her lips. "You are human," she said softly. "I have heard of your courage. But tell me, Kale, why would a human care for an alien princess he has never met?" Kale met her gaze. "Because I cannot stand by while life is in danger. It does not matter if someone is human, Zytheran, or from another galaxy. Life is precious, and it deserves protection." Illyra studied him silently for a moment. Then she nodded. "Very well. But you must understand, Kale, that this is not a battle fought with swords or lasers. My life is fading for reasons none of our greatest healers can fully understand. If you wish to help, you must be prepared for the impossible." Kale did not flinch. "I am ready," he said simply. The princess stood and walked to him, her movements slow but purposeful. Then you will see the truth for yourself, she said. She led him to a chamber deep within the palace. In the center, a large crystal pool shimmered with pale blue light. Alira knelt beside it, and as Kale watched, he saw the light within her begin to fade. A small wisp of energy lifted from her form and dissolved into the pool, like smoke disappearing in the air. Kale's eyes widened. "This is extraordinary," he murmured, "but also dangerous. We must find the source and stop it." Alira nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "Some say it is a cosmic parasite, feeding on my life energy. Others believe it is a curse from the stars themselves. Whatever it is, it will not stop on its own." Kale's mind raced. He had faced enemies of incredible power, but this was different. This was a puzzle, a threat that could not be fought with strength alone. It required courage, intelligence, and perhaps something more. Over the next hours, Kale spoke with the healers, the scientists, and the advisors. He learned of the ancient texts describing cosmic parasites, creatures of energy that could feed on life forces across planets. Many had failed to stop them, and few had survived the encounter. Kale realized that to save Alira, he would need to go beyond anything he had ever done before. That night, Kale stood on the balcony of the palace, looking at the stars above Zythera. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him, but also a spark of determination. He knew that humans were not the most powerful beings in the galaxy, but they had something unique: the courage to face impossible odds, and the willingness to risk everything for others. Meanwhile, Alira watched him from her window, feeling a glimmer of hope she had not felt in weeks. Perhaps this human, with his unyielding spirit, could do what none of her people could. Perhaps he could save her, and in doing so, remind her of the strength that existed in the galaxy. As the twin suns set once more, casting long shadows across the crystal towers, a quiet promise hung in the air. Kale would not give up. He would fight against the darkness, threatening Alira, and Alira, though weak, felt the first stirrings of hope, believing that even in the vast galaxy, a single human heart could make a difference. Little did they know, their journey was only beginning, and the challenges ahead would test not only their strength but the very limits of courage and sacrifice. The next morning, the palace of Zythera was alive with quiet urgency. Scientists, healers, and council members gathered in the grand hall, discussing plans and possibilities, while Princess Alira sat with Kale at her side. She looked more awake now, though a faint pallor lingered on her skin. Kale listened carefully as the Zytheran scientists explained what they knew. "The energy draining you," said one healer, a tall being with crystalline arms, "originates from a rare cosmic parasite. It feeds on your life force and grows stronger with time. We have no way to destroy it safely from here." Kale's brow furrowed. "And the parasite? Where does it come from?" he asked. The scientist's eyes glimmered with worry. "It comes from the luminous nebula, a place far beyond our star system. Many have traveled there, but none have returned. It is dangerous, unpredictable, and alive in ways that defy logic." Alira spoke softly. "If it is allowed to grow unchecked, it will consume me completely. Then, Zythera itself may fall into imbalance. The planet and its people could suffer." Kale's jaw tightened. He had faced many dangers in his life, but this was unlike anything he had known. This was not a war to be fought with weapons or tactics alone. It was a test of courage, resourcefulness, and perhaps something deeper. He glanced at Alira. She looked fragile, yet her eyes held quiet strength. "I will go to the luminous nebula," Kale said simply. "I will face this parasite and find a way to stop it." The council members gasped. "No human, no one can survive the nebula," an elder cried. "It is death itself." Kale stood taller. "Then I will do what no one else can. I am not asking for your permission, only your support." Alira reached out and placed a hand on his arm. "Kale, your courage is unusual, but I trust you. If anyone can face this, It is you. Take what you need, and go quickly. Every moment counts. With Elira's blessing, Kale began preparing for the journey. He worked with Zytheran engineers to modify his spacecraft, equipping it with shields to withstand the unpredictable energy storms of the nebula. He gathered supplies, energy crystals, and protective suits designed to survive extreme conditions. He also selected a small team of companions, 2 Zytheran warriors skilled in combat and navigation, and a young scientist who had studied the nebula's strange energy patterns for years. As they prepared to depart, Elira came to the launch platform. The twin suns were low on the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple. Kale stood at the edge of his ship, ready to face the unknown. "Be careful," Elira said, her voice trembling slightly. "I have never asked anyone to risk their life for me. But I cannot survive without your help." Kale nodded. "I promise, Princess. I will do everything I can." The ship lifted off smoothly, leaving the glowing towers of Zythera behind. The city shrank into the distance, its sparkling rivers and crystal spires fading as Kale set a course for the luminous nebula. The journey through space was long and tense. Kale and his team navigated asteroid fields and dodged rogue comets, their ship shuddering as it passed through pockets of gravitational turbulence. At night, Kale stared out into the endless darkness, thinking of Elira and the stakes of his mission. He realized that the nebula would not be just a physical challenge. It would test his mind, his spirit, and his determination in ways he could not yet imagine. Finally, after days of travel, the edge of the luminous nebula appeared. It was unlike anything Kale had ever seen. Waves of brilliant light stretched across space, shifting and pulsing like living energy. Colors danced in the void, violets, blues, golds constantly changing. Space itself seemed to bend, and strange, whispering currents of energy brushed against the ship. The Zytheran scientist on board shivered. "This is alive," she whispered. "The nebula senses us. It reacts to our presence." Kale tightened his grip on the controls. "Then we must be careful. Every move counts. We cannot fight it with force alone." The ship entered the swirling lights of the nebula. Energy storms lashed against their shields, and strange distortions caused instruments to flicker unpredictably. Time seemed to stretch and warp, making each moment feel longer than reality. The team pressed forward, driven by the knowledge that Elira's life depended on them. But danger came quickly. A sudden surge of energy erupted ahead, forming a massive shape in space, a guardian of the nebula. A creature of pure light and energy. Its form twisted and shimmered, changing constantly, making it almost impossible to focus on. The Zytheran warriors prepared to fire their energy weapons. But Kale held up a hand. "Wait. This may not be something we can fight. Watch its movement. Learn it." The creature pulsed and shifted, then suddenly surged toward their ship. Kale maneuvered expertly, dodging the first attack, feeling the ship vibrate under the energy surge. He realized that brute force would not win. Instead, he had to anticipate, adapt, and move with the flow of the nebula. Slowly, the team learned to read the patterns of the Guardian, timing their movements perfectly, avoiding collisions, and slipping past the creature. After what felt like hours, the Guardian finally dissipated into the swirling energy. The team exhaled in relief. But Kale knew this was only the beginning. "This nebula is testing us," he said. "It will throw everything at us to see if we are worthy. We must stay alert and trust each other." That night, as they drifted through a calm pocket of space, Kale looked at his team. "We are not just here to survive," he said. "We are here to save someone who cannot save herself. And that means we cannot give up. No matter what happens, we keep moving forward." The scientist nodded. "I have studied this nebula my whole life. It will challenge everything we know about energy, space, and life itself. But I believe you are the key. Kale, your courage may be the one thing that can break through its defenses." Kale felt a strange warmth in those words. Humans were not the strongest or fastest in the galaxy. But they had one gift: the ability to risk everything for others, to face impossible odds without surrendering. He thought of Elira, fading back on Zythra, and the promise he had made, he would not fail her. As the ship continued deeper into the nebula, strange shapes and shifting lights surrounded them. Shadows of past travelers, energy echoes, and the whispers of the cosmos itself seemed to brush against the ship. Kale gripped the controls, ready for whatever trials lay ahead. This was the impossible quest, and there was no turning back. Little did Kale know, the nebula's greatest tests were not ahead, they were already within him, waiting to challenge not just his body, but the strength of his heart. The deeper Kale and his team traveled into the luminous nebula, the stranger and more dangerous the space around them became. Waves of glowing energy twisted like living rivers, constantly changing color, and strange shapes flickered at the edge of vision. Every instrument on the ship behaved unpredictably. Even time seemed to move strangely, stretching seconds into minutes and shrinking hours into moments. The crew grew tense. The young Zytheran scientist, Lyra, hovered over the controls, eyes wide. "The nebula reacts to our energy," she said. "It senses fear, anger, hesitation. We must remain calm, or it may trap us forever." Kale nodded, gripping the control console. "Then we move carefully, step by step, eyes open, hearts steady." The first real challenge came suddenly. A massive storm of energy erupted around the ship, throwing it in every direction. Lightning-like pulses of light struck the shields, shaking the ship violently. Kale struggled to keep the vessel stable while the Zytheran warriors prepared their defensive tools. "It's too strong," one of the warriors shouted. "Weapons will not work." Kale realized he was right. Force alone could not conquer this place. Instead, he focused on reading the storm's movements. Like a river, it had currents and patterns. Timing their movements with these currents allowed them to slip past the worst of the energy bursts. It was exhausting work, requiring total focus, but slowly, they emerged from the storm. Battered, but alive. "Good work," Kale said, trying to keep his voice calm. "We are learning. This nebula tests more than strength. It tests patience, observation, and courage." The crew moved forward, but the nebula was not done. As they passed through a region of swirling violet light, shadowy forms began to take shape. They were faint, shifting silhouettes, like ghosts of travelers long lost to the nebula. Some whispered unintelligible words. Others reached toward the ship, stretching and twisting in ways that made the hair on Kale's neck stand on end. "It is memories," Lyra whispered. "The nebula keeps echoes of all who have entered it. It shows them to test our minds." Kale tightened his grip on the controls. "Ignore them. Focus on what is real. These illusions are meant to scare us, to make us doubt ourselves. We cannot let them." The shadows lunged closer, but Kale held steady, moving the ship deliberately and calmly. The team repeated his focus, speaking words of encouragement to one another, and slowly, the shadowy forms dissolved into the swirling light. Despite the challenges, the nebula also revealed moments of beauty. Fields of glowing crystals floated in space, shimmering with colors Kale had never seen. Strange creatures of light darted past the ship like shooting stars. Even in this place of danger, the universe seemed to be alive and vibrant, reminding Kale that life and courage were everywhere, even in the darkest trials. Days passed, and the team faced more challenges. Gravitational storms that pulled the ship in every direction, currents of energy that tried to separate them from one another, and illusions that preyed on their deepest fears. Each test demanded creativity, teamwork, and calm focus. Kale realized that brute force was useless here. The nebula responded to courage and selflessness. Finally, after what felt like an endless journey, they reached the heart of the nebula. The ship slowed, hovering before a vast expanse of glowing energy. There, at the center, they saw it the cosmic parasite. It was a terrifying sight. Not solid, not liquid, not like anything Kale had seen before. It was a shifting mass of light and shadow, constantly changing shape, writhing as though it were alive. Its energy pulsed, reaching out toward the crew like invisible fingers. Kale felt the pull in his chest, a strange pressure that made his heart race. The parasite fed not just on life, but on fear, hesitation, and weakness. "It senses us," Lyra whispered, awe and fear in her voice. Kale studied it carefully. Weapons would not destroy it. Shields would only delay its influence. He realized the only way to stop it was to confront it directly, to face it with courage and determination. The Scytheran warriors prepared to protect the ship, but Kale held up a hand. "We need to understand it first. Move carefully. Do not attack unless necessary." Slowly, Kale extended a small energy tether toward the parasite, a device designed to measure and contain energy flows. The parasite reacted instantly, shifting violently. But Kale did not flinch. He held steady, observing its patterns, learning how it moved and fed. Hours passed. The parasite tested them, sending out waves of energy that made the ship tremble, illusions that preyed on fears, and whispers that tried to make them doubt their mission. Yet Kale remained calm, speaking quietly to his team, encouraging them to stay focused. Then Kale realized something. The parasite did not respond to anger or force, it responded to selflessness, to courage that risked everything to protect another. Slowly, he understood the nebula's test. To defeat the parasite, someone would have to offer a part of themselves willingly, without hesitation. Without thought of reward, Kale turned to his team. "I know what must be done," he said. "To stop this, I have to risk myself. I have to share my energy with the parasite, to distract it and weaken it so Alira can be saved," the Scytheran warriors protested. "You cannot. It could kill you instantly." Kale shook his head. "It is the only way. I cannot let it take her life. No one else can do this. I must." The team helped prepare the tether and containment device. Kale connected himself, feeling a strange warmth spread through his body. As he did, the parasite lashed out with full force. Energy waves hit the ship, lights flickered, and alarms blared. Kale felt the parasite's pull on his life force, a sensation like being dragged across a star, yet he held steady. He focused on Alira, on the life he had vowed to protect. Slowly, the parasite began to shrink, its energy flow disrupted by Kale's courage and selflessness. The nebula around them pulsed with light, reacting to the battle not of weapons, but of will. Kale's body weakened, his strength drained by the connection. But he did not give up. The parasite writhed, tried to shift, tried to consume him, but his determination held. The team worked quickly, using the containment device to stabilize the parasite, while Kale continued to give of himself. Finally, after what seemed like eternity, the parasite's energy weakened. It shrank into a small, unstable mass, no longer able to drain Alira's life. The nebula's light dimmed and then stabilized, calm, returning to the swirling energies. Kale slumped in his seat, exhausted, barely able to stand, but the parasite had been contained. The heart of the nebula was conquered not by weapons, not by force, but by courage, selflessness, and determination. Kale had survived, though barely, and he had shown the truth of humanity, the ability to risk everything for another, even in the face of impossible odds. As the ship prepared to leave the nebula, Kale looked at his team. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The parasite may be contained, but it is not gone entirely. We must return to Alira and finish what we started." And somewhere, across the stars, Princess Alira waited, her fading light beginning to grow again, unaware of the immense courage and sacrifice that was being poured into her survival. The journey back from the heart of the luminous nebula was quiet, almost eerily calm. Kale's ship moved through the glowing currents of light, carrying the weakened human and his exhausted team. The parasite had been contained, but it was unstable, still dangerous, and Alira's life remained fragile. Kale sat in the pilot's seat, his body trembling from the energy tether he had used. Every muscle ached, and his breathing was heavy. But his mind was clear. He had survived the nebula. Yet he knew the hardest part was still ahead. The parasite could only be destroyed permanently if he risked something even greater. His own life energy. Lyra, the young Zytheran scientist, approached cautiously. Kale, the connection you made with the parasite, it was remarkable. But to destroy it completely, it says here in the texts, someone must give themselves willingly. Permanently, it will draw your life force into the parasite to neutralize it. There is no turning back. Kale's hands tightened on the controls. He had expected this moment, but hearing it aloud made the reality sharp and heavy. Then I have no choice, he said. I made a promise to Lyra. I will not let her die. The Zytheran warriors exchanged worried glances. You are putting your life at risk, one said firmly. Kale looked at them steadily. I do not ask for permission. If I do not do this, she will die. Humanity's strength is not just in weapons or strength, but in courage and the willingness to sacrifice. That is what I must show now. The ship moved closer to Zythera's orbit, and in the distance, Kale saw the sparkling towers of Lyra's city. The thought of her, pale and fading just days ago, filled him with determination. He would not let her life slip away. Not after everything. Kale connected the containment device once more, preparing for the final transfer of energy. He reached out with his consciousness, sharing his life force with the parasite. At first, it resisted, lashing out with violent waves of energy. The ship shook, alarms blared, and the glowing currents of the nebula outside flared brightly. Kale gritted his teeth, focusing on Lyra. He imagined her standing strong, surrounded by her people, safe and alive. Slowly, the parasite began to respond not with aggression, but with a strange recognition. Kale's courage and selflessness calmed it, as though it understood that his purpose was not to conquer, but to protect. Minutes passed, each one stretching like hours. Kale felt the life energy being pulled from him, a burning warmth that threatened to consume him. Every fiber of his being ached. But he held steady. He could not falter now, not when Lyra's life hung in the balance. The nebula itself seemed to respond. The swirling lights pulsed in rhythm with Kale's heartbeat, as though the universe recognized the bravery of one human risking everything for another. The ship rocked violently as the parasite resisted, trying to break free. But Kale's determination never wavered. Finally, Kale realized the parasite was weakening. It had no choice but to accept the human's energy to stabilize itself. Slowly, it shrank, collapsing inward, until it became a small, dim orb of energy, completely neutralized. The nebula calmed around them, its colors softening, and the strange, shifting forms vanished. Kale slumped in his seat, nearly unconscious, his life energy almost spent. Lyra and the Zytheran warriors rushed to his side, helping him stabilize. Kale! You're alive! Lyra cried, her voice trembling with relief. You did it! The parasite is gone! Kale managed a faint smile, though his body felt like it had been broken. It is done, he whispered, voice weak but steady. Lyra, she will live. As they entered Zythera's orbit, Kale's strength was fading fast. The ship landed carefully on the palace grounds, and Lyra was there waiting, surrounded by advisors and guards. She had heard of Kale's journey, of the peril he had faced. But seeing him in person, weakened and pale, took her breath away. Kale stepped out of the ship with support from the Zytheran warriors. Lyra rushed to his side, placing her hands gently on his arms. Kale, what have you done? She asked, her voice full of worry and awe. Kale smiled faintly. I did what I had to do. To save you. Tears filled Lyra's eyes. You risked everything. For me? Kale nodded. Not just for you. For your people. For your planet. Humanity's strength is in courage. In selflessness. That is what I hope to show. Lyra took a deep breath. And slowly, The glow returned to her face. Her strength, once fading, was restored. She stood taller, radiating the energy and life that had almost been lost. "Kale, you are more than a warrior," she said softly. "You are a hero, not just for Scythera, but for all who hear your story." The council members and citizens began to gather, witnessing the scene. Kale's courage, his willingness to risk everything for another, had reminded them of a truth often forgotten. Life, and the protection of life, was the greatest strength in the galaxy. Kale leaned against a crystal railing, still weak, but smiling faintly as Alira's energy filled the palace. I will recover," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "Humans, do not give up so easily." Alira took his hand, her grip gentle but strong. "Your bravery has shown us something we can never forget. Humans are capable of great courage and great heart. You gave everything for me, and in doing so, you have reminded us all why life is precious." For the first time in weeks, Alira's laughter rang out, light and musical, echoing across the crystal towers of Scythera. The people cheered, celebrating not only the return of their princess but also the extraordinary hero who had risked everything to save her. Kale's team gathered around him, their faces reflecting pride and relief. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "You did it, Kale. You faced the impossible. And you succeeded." Kale looked at the stars above Scythera, remembering the long journey through the nebula, the shadows, the illusions, and the trials. Every moment of fear, every wave of energy, every whisper from the nebula had led to this one truth. Courage, selflessness, and the willingness to risk everything were the true power of humanity. And in that moment, Kale knew something profound. Humans might not be the strongest in the galaxy, but their hearts, their determination, and their bravery could change the course of entire worlds. As Alira and Kale stood together, hand in hand, the twin suns set once more over Scythera, casting long, golden shadows across the crystal towers. Life had been saved, balance restored, and humanity had proven, once again, that even in the vast and dangerous galaxy, one brave heart could make all the difference. The palace of Scythera sparkled under the light of the twin suns. Crystals reflected colors across the city, creating a rainbow glow that seemed to dance on the wind. Citizens poured into the streets, celebrating the return of their princess and the defeat of the cosmic parasite. Banners fluttered, music filled the air, and laughter rang through the crystal towers. In the midst of the celebration, Kale remained in the palace gardens, supported by the Scytheran warriors. His body was still weak from the energy transfer he had endured, but his spirit was strong. Though he had risked everything, he had succeeded. Alira's life was saved, and the planet's balance restored. Princess Alira approached him, her presence radiant. She had fully recovered, her glow stronger than ever, and her eyes shone with gratitude and admiration. She knelt beside Kale, placing her hands gently on his shoulders. "Kale," she said softly, "you gave everything to save me. You risked your life when none of us could. You have shown the greatest courage imaginable." Kale smiled faintly. "I did what anyone should do. Life is precious. If I could save yours, I would do it again." Alira shook her head, a small smile touching her lips. "Not everyone has the courage to face the impossible, Kale. You remind us all that humanity has a strength unlike any other in the galaxy. You are a hero not just for Scythera, but for everyone who believes in hope and courage." The crowd of citizens watched in awe as Alira helped Kale to his feet. Whispers spread quickly through the city. The human who had faced the heart of the nebula, survived the cosmic parasite, and given everything for the princess. Stories of Kale's bravery would soon travel across the stars. The Council of Scythera gathered around, offering their formal thanks. One elder spoke with deep respect. "Kale, your courage has restored life to our princess and our planet. You have shown the power of selflessness, determination, and the human spirit. From this day forward, Humans will be honored as allies and protectors among our people. Kale felt a warmth spread through him. He had traveled across the galaxy, faced impossible trials, and risked everything. Yet, he realized it was not the danger that defined him, but the choice to act when others might hesitate. That was humanity's true strength: courage, heart, and the willingness to protect life, even against impossible odds. The celebration continued throughout the day. Elira moved among her people, greeting them, listening to their stories, and sharing her gratitude for Kale's sacrifice. The citizens marveled at the human warrior, asking questions about the stars, the nebula, and the courage it took to face such danger. Kale answered humbly, always redirecting the praise to the power of selflessness and unity. As the sun began to set, painting the city in shades of gold and violet, Elira led Kale to the tallest tower in the palace. From there, they could see the entire city below, shimmering and alive. She looked at him with a mixture of admiration and respect. "Kale," she said, "your journey has shown me something I never fully understood. Strength is not only in knowledge or magic or even courage. It is in the willingness to put others before yourself. That is what humanity has, and that is why you have saved Scythera." Kale nodded. "I have learned much as well, Princess. Other beings may be stronger or faster, but humans, we have the courage to act when it matters most. That courage can change worlds." Elira smiled. "And you have proved it. I wish there were words enough to thank you properly. Perhaps one day, our people will honor humanity across the stars because of what you have done." In the weeks that followed, Kale's health gradually returned. Elira ensured he received the best care, but she also made it clear that his bravery had earned him more than healing, it had earned him a place in Scythera's history. Statues and murals were prepared, not only of the princess but of the human warrior who had saved her, reminding all citizens and travelers of the power of courage and selflessness. Kale spent his days exploring the city, learning about Scytheran culture, and building friendships with its people. He saw how Elira's leadership inspired kindness and cooperation, and he knew that the bond between humans and Scytherans had grown stronger because of his actions. One evening, as the twin suns set and cast long golden shadows across the palace, Kale and Elira stood on the balcony once more. The city below was alive with light and music, celebrating life itself. "You have given us hope, Kale," Elira said. "Not just for myself, but for our planet and our people. Humanity has proven that even one individual can make a difference." Kale looked out over the city, then back at the princess. "It is not just me. Every life has the power to change something. But humans, we are willing to risk everything for others. That is our greatest strength." Elira nodded, a bright smile on her face. "And that strength will never be forgotten. You have shown us the heart of humanity, Kale. And for that, we are forever grateful." As night fell over Scythera, the city glittered like a sea of stars. The twin moons rose, casting soft silver light across the crystal towers. Kale felt a sense of peace he had never known in all his battles. He had faced impossible odds, given everything, and helped save a life worth more than any treasure or victory. In that moment, he realized the truth of the universe. Courage, selflessness, and determination could triumph even over the greatest darkness. Humanity, in its unique way, could shine brighter than any star, and Kale had lived to prove it. The galaxy would hear of this story. Travelers from distant worlds would speak of the human who faced the heart of the nebula, confronted a cosmic parasite, and gave everything to save an alien princess. Elira would reign, her planet safe and thriving, a beacon of hope and gratitude for what one brave heart could achieve. Kale watched the stars beyond Scythera, a quiet smile on his face. He knew that humanity's journey among the stars was only beginning, and that courage, selflessness, and hope would always light the way. For the first time in his long life of battles and challenges, Kale felt the deep satisfaction of knowing that true strength was not in power, but in heart. And in the galaxy, that heart would always be remembered. As the twin moons reflected on the crystal towers, Zythera's people celebrated. Elira stood tall and strong, and Kale, the human warrior, looked out toward the endless stars, knowing that humanity had truly earned its place among them.